Well, good morning, church, and good morning to those that are joining us online and listening on the radio. We are glad that you are part of the worshiping community here at University Christian Church. So we are in the middle of a series that we're calling The Power of Words, and we all know that our words have power. Our words have power to do good and to do evil. Our words have power to strengthen our relationships or to destroy them. Our words have power to bless and to encourage people. And they have the power to tear down and destroy. Last week we looked at a text from Ephesians, which is sort of the theme verse of this entire series. We will keep coming back to it. Let no evil come out of your mouths, but only what is good for building up as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those that hear. What a powerful verse of Scripture, what powerful words. And as I said, the theme that weaves its way through this entire series, including today's sermon, and we will keep coming back to it. But in addition to that, we're also going to look at two other Scripture verses. The first one is from Paul's letter to the Colossians. Now, we assume that Paul wrote it, at least it's attributed to him, though many scholars question that and think that maybe it was Timothy writing using Paul's words and voice. But either way, Paul or whoever knew the problems that were happening in that church. And the biggest problem was the kind of language that they were using towards and with one another. The second text is a short one that comes from James, and I mentioned last week that James is one of my favorite books in the Bible, in part because it's practical. It's a how to live out one's faith, how to put your faith to work. So I invite you to hear these texts from Colossians and from James.
The scriptures for today are a selection of verses from the book of Colossians and one verse from the book of James. Here begins the reading. But now you must get rid of all such things: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and abusive language from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have stripped off the old self with its practices. And as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Bear with one another, and if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other, just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. You must understand this, my beloved. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
So a few weeks ago, I started wearing a fitness tracker. I don't know if you can see it, but I wear it on my wrist. It's called a Whoop. It was not designed at Texas A&M. I looked into that. Wanted to make sure before I put it on my wrist. And it tells me everything that's going on in my body at any given time, right? It tells me my heart rate. It tells me the number of steps I've taken today. It tells me my VO2, my heart rate variability. It tells me everything I need to know about what's going on in my body at any given time. Tracks my sleep, tracks my steps. It tracks everything. And it gives me more data than I know what to do with. And after a few weeks of wearing this, what I've come to the realization is that I don't need more data. But when it comes to my fitness, what I need is more discipline. Are you with me? I think a lot of us don't need more data. What we need is more discipline. And so that being said, today's sermon will have no new information in it at all. Everything that you will hear this morning, you have heard before. Everything that is said this morning, you already know. You don't need more data. What you need is a reminder and encouragement to live out and to put into action what you already know. This series is aimed at reminding us what we already know, and that is that our words have power. And today, this morning, we're going to talk about the power of our words in our family relationships. And you've heard me say time again, not new information, you've heard me say it, that our families are the source of our greatest joy. And our families are the source of our greatest pain. How many people know exactly what I'm talking about? Our families are the source of our greatest joy. Our families are the source of our greatest pain. That's not new information. You already know that. And we also know that we tend to be hardest on those that we are closest to. That we say things to the people in our families, to the people that we love the most, that we would never say to anyone else. The text that Eldon read a moment ago, now you have to get rid of all such things like anger and wrath and malice and slander and abusive language, Paul says. Now keep in mind that Paul is writing to Christians, which leads me to ask, what are these Christians doing? What are they saying to and about one another? Their faith apparently has not moved from their hearts to their lips. They're still speaking anger to one another, slandering one another. And Paul says to not use abusive language. The word that is translated there as abusive is oftentimes, in other places, translated as obscene or filthy language. Paul's saying this type of abusive, filthy, obscene language isn't fitting for who we are as people of faith. It brings harm to the people around him. How can we love our neighbor as we love ourselves if we are constantly hurling these obscene words at them and about them? Scholars will tell us that the church in Colossae was very, very small. And after reading this, I can start to understand why. There's no place for words like this in the Christian life, Paul is saying. But I'm going to give us the benefit of the doubt and suggest that it's not just the harsh words that we use, the harmful words that diminish one another. My hope and my prayer is that many of you know enough not to use those words and that type of language to and about your family members. And so I'm going to give us the benefit of the doubt. If you do, come see me. We've got some work to do. But I think that the biggest problem, the greater problem, is not that we use that type of harmful language, but that we withhold the words that we need to say, words of grace, words of affirmation, words of love. Those things that build up. It's not the words that we use to tear down, but that we withhold the positive words that we are meant to say that build those up. You know, the truth is that people that grow up in homes like this, where words of love and affirmation are rarely, if ever, spoken, they often seek to find that love and that affirmation, and they go looking for love in all the wrong places. That should be a country song someplace. Somebody write that down. Looking for love in all the wrong places. But that's what happens. We look for love in other places because I know people that have tried their entire lives to get people to love them, to feel that kind of love and affirmation, who grew up in a home in which there was a deficit of love, and that everything that they do to this day is trying to get people to say affirming things about them because they never had that in their home of origin. You know, part of the power of the Christian faith, especially churches like this, is that even if you didn't hear that in your home of origin, that you were loved, that you were valued, that here you are told on a regular basis that there is a God who knows you, there is a God who loves you, and that love has the power to change you, to transform you, to make you whole. That you are loved. You know, I never understand why people would go to a church week in and week out in which they are told repeatedly that they're not enough. They're not good enough. They don't have faith that is strong enough, that they're sinners. I never understood why people would go back to a church like that. But we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. I knew a woman years ago who was in an abusive marital relationship for years. And she confided in me that the words that he spoke that were harmful and hurtful, that they came regularly. But the hardest part, the part that caused the most pain, the ones that eventually finally led me to leave, it was the absence of kindness. It was the absence of grace, the absence of words that simply made me feel special, that made me feel loved. It was the absence of those things combined with all the other hurtful words that left me feeling very small. So I want to ask you this morning, do the people around you, the people that you love the most, that you're closest to, do they feel small? Or do they feel special and noticed, important? Because that's what your words do. They make people feel small, or they make people feel valued and loved. And let me be clear, I'm not just talking about husbands and wives and partners. It's everyone around you. It's your entire family, your extended family as well. The truth is that every single one of us depends on the love and the affirmation and the affection of those around us to replenish our own ability to love. And your parents need those words of grace from you. And I say that not just as a father, but as a son. Last week, we celebrated Father's Day, and a few weeks ago, it was Mother's Day. And my hope and my prayer is that you were able, if your parents are still alive, to be able to express those words of love and affirmation, of appreciation. And if they're no longer alive, my hope and my prayer is that you said those words, at least in your heart, that you love and you appreciate your parents and you thank them for all that they did. But what about the other 364 days? The truth is that your parents, if they're still alive, they need that from you. I know mine do. And I know what you're thinking. My parents weren't perfect. Well, I don't know how to tell you this. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. But I bet they did the best they could. And they need those words of grace from you, words that bless and encourage. Are you doing that? Or are you withholding that because you still resent something from your past? Remember what Paul said to the church in Ephesus, let no evil talk come out of your mouth, but only what is good for building up, so that your words may give grace to those who hear. Are you doing that? Are you giving words of grace to other people that build them up? So, church, with the time that I have left this morning, I want to focus on 4 phrases that need to be regularly spoken in homes, in family relationships, if you are going to have a family that is healthy, that thrives, and one that is not toxic. And again, this is no information. This is not new information. This is simple things that you know already, but I think it's important for us to remind ourselves and to encourage us to say these things more often. And the first one, I'll be honest, is so simple that I almost didn't include it, but I'm going to anyway. We need to say, I love you. We need to tell the people around us that we love them. Because the truth is, they need to hear it. And you need to hear it, and I need to hear it. We all need to hear and to know that we are treasured, that our lives have value and meaning, that somebody thinks we're special, that we are important to them. And sharing those words with some frequency is vital. It's important. I know a woman who confided in me one time that her dad never said the words, "I love you." The whole time she was growing up, I never heard those words. She said, I understand he couldn't. He was just uncomfortable saying it. Now, I knew he felt it, and he expressed it. He showed me in 1,000 different ways, but he could never say it. But I just wish, growing up, that he would have said the words every once in a while. She went on to tell me that when he finally started saying it was not long after he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That in that moment, when he started to lose his mind, he started to face his own mortality, something in him unlocked. And he started saying, "I love you." And it transformed their relationship and made the days remaining so much more meaningful. I want to encourage you, church, don't wait until you have Alzheimer's to tell the people around you that you love them. You know, I recently had a colleague, somebody in the community that I know and work with, he told me that he loved me. And I got to be honest with you that when he first said it, we were saying goodbye, and he said, "I love you," and I have to be honest with you that my first reaction was, did he mean to say that? But then I realized that he did. It wasn't romantic, it wasn't sexual, but it was heartfelt. And it has transformed the way in which I relate with him. It was genuine, it was heartfelt, and it meant so much to me. So what if we were to normalize saying, "I love you" to other people? Not just in our families, but our friends, the people that we sit beside in the pews. What if we were to tell our neighbors? We just recently did a whole big campaign on the importance of loving our neighbors. What if we didn't just love them? What if we told them we love them? What if we normalize saying, "I love you" on a regular basis? How would that change our community? How would that transform the way we relate to those around us? And so I want to challenge you this week, to your spouse, to your children, to your parents, to your siblings, to anyone and everyone. Tell them that you love them. And if you can't look them in the eye, send them a text. Send them a Facebook message. Use a Post-it note. Just tell them. Because we need to hear this regularly. And those words give grace to those that hear them. Secondly, is not necessarily a word that we need to speak. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's the word from James that we heard just a minute ago. Let everyone be quick to listen, be slow to speak, be slow to anger. Early on in my ministry, when I was working with couples doing premarital counseling work, I used to give them the advice. Now, when you're married, never go to bed angry. How many of you ever heard or were told that, given that advice at some point? Never go to bed angry. How many of you have ever gone to bed angry in your relationship? Let's be honest. I no longer tell that to couples. Having worked with hundreds of couples, having been married twice myself, I no longer tell that to couples because it's unrealistic. We're not able to do that. We all get angry. The question is not whether or not we're going to get angry. The question is, what do we say when we are angry? How do we deal with it? I know someone who they used to joke in their family of origin that their mom didn't get angry very often. And when she did, she didn't know what to do with it. Isn't it true? Isn't it true that we say things to our spouse, to our partner, that we use a tone of voice with the people that we love the most that we would never use on somebody else? The truth is that sometimes I get angry at my wife, Kelly, and surprisingly, she gets angry at me. And the truth is that oftentimes when I'm angry, it's because I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm frustrated, I'm irritated. And the truth is that I treat her in a way that I would never treat any of you. And she is the same with me. I get angry. We all do. But it's important to be slow to anger, but then how do we deal with it? And that's why I so appreciate James' words, be quick to listen and slow to speak. You've heard the old adage, right? That God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth in direct proportion of how we should use those in terms of their frequency. In other words, we should listen twice as much as we speak. I would argue that sometimes the greatest gift that we can give those that we love the most is the gift of not speaking, but of looking them in the eyes, of giving them your full attention. And I need to say this, that multitasking is a myth. That multitasking is a myth. We can't do it. We say we can, but we can't. If my wife Kelly comes home and is telling me about my day, telling me about her day, and I'm scrolling on my phone, what message am I sending to her? Now, I may be able to repeat everything that she just told me, but I'm not giving her my full attention. And I'm saying, not necessarily with my words, but with my actions, that what you say right now doesn't really matter. I need to work on this. Is there anybody else in this room that needs to work on this? You don't have to raise your hand. And whatever you do, don't raise your spouse's hand. Thirdly, I want to move on to 6 words that no relationship can survive without. And again, you know this. The first 3 are, I am sorry. And the second 3 are, I forgive you. No relationship is sustainable without these 6 words. That's why Paul said in the text from Colossians that we heard just a minute ago, bear with one another, and if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive them. Forgive one another. You see, the part of being human is that you're going to get hurt. And you're going to let down those people that you love. None of us are perfect. And we do things, and sometimes we don't do things, and sometimes we forget things. And in a relationship, a healthy relationship, we have to get really good at saying in those moments, I'm sorry. I forgot that. I dropped the ball there. I didn't mean to say it that way. I'm sorry. And in the same way, we need to be able to forgive one another. It's a central part of being human, of being Christian, of being in relationship. And the truth is that failing to forgive somebody does more damage to us than it does the person that we need to forgive. My favorite quote about forgiveness is Anne Lamott, who says, not forgiving is like drinking rat poison and then waiting for the rat to die. That it kills us. It kills our relationship. Failure to forgive destroys our marriages. And I need to say this, that forgiving somebody does not condone their actions. It doesn't say what they did was okay, but rather it is freeing you from carrying it around, from carrying that burden and allowing it to damage and to hold you back. And so I need to simply ask you this morning, are there people in your family that you need to apologize to this week? Maybe it was something that you did in the past that you wish you didn't do, or maybe it was something that you left undone. And maybe it's something that they forgot about years ago, but it's something that you carry with you, and you need to apologize for it to free yourself as much as anything else. Is there anyone that you need to apologize to this week? And in the same way, are there people in your family that you need to forgive? And just so we're clear, that doesn't mean calling them up and say, you remember that really crappy thing that you did to me years ago? I want you to know that I forgive you for that. That misses the point entirely, but instead, maybe you just release them in your heart and find that you release yourself in the same way. You see, if we're going to have healthy families, we need to get really good at saying, I'm sorry, and I forgive you. And lastly, I think we need to get really good at saying thank you. At saying thank you. Paul said in Colossians, be thankful. You've probably met somebody in your life that is constantly wishing their spouse, that their parents, their kids were something other than what they are. And they say things like, if only my dad would have done this, if only my wife would be that, if only my kids were more like that. They're constantly comparing them to something that they thought they should have been, but didn't. And those people that are constantly comparing against that unmeasurable, unmeetable goal, they are miserable. And let's be honest, they are miserable to be around. And the truth is, there are no perfect people, and that doesn't mean that we don't help them become better versions of themselves, that we don't nurture them with our love. But if we are focused more on being thankful for who they are, rather than wishing they were someone else, our lives will be so much fuller. So what if we focus on the good things about them and not the things that are disappointments? What if we focus on the things that we treasure, that we value about them, and not on the things that we wish that they would do differently? And if I could just talk to the young people for a minute, you all can tune out for just a second. If I could just say something to the young people, my advice to you is to get ridiculously good at saying thank you. Get ridiculously good at saying thank you. I will tell you something that your parents can't tell you, and that is that being a parent is hard. And I don't know how to tell you this, but you aren't always easy to live with. But you would be amazed at how much more gracious, how much more loving, how much more patient, how much more willing your parents will be with you if you express gratitude on a regular basis. And I also suspect that you will get away with a whole lot more if you just said thank you from time to time. You see, gratitude has this incredible power to enhance our overall well-being. It strengthens our relationship. It improves our emotional health. So be grateful. Say thank you. Our families are the source of our greatest joy, the source of our greatest pain. And our words have the power to bless. They have the power to tear down, to destroy. Not new information. Things you already knew. But things that you maybe perhaps needed to be reminded of. And so this morning, I want to do something that we don't often do, and it may be a little touchy-feely for this congregation, but we're going to do it anyway. And that is, if you're sitting next to your spouse, will you reach out and hold their hand? If you're sitting next to your child, if they're not too embarrassed, if you will hold their hand. If you're sitting next to a parent, to a loved one, if there's someone that you need to hold in your heart, hold them for just a minute. And let's be in the spirit of prayer together. And just simply in the silence of this moment, prayerfully ask for God's forgiveness for those times when you've spoken words that are hurtful and not life-giving. Pause to thank God for the hands that you were holding. And maybe pray in your own words, God, please help me so that my words might give grace to those that hear them. We thank you, O God, for your forgiveness and for your grace. And help us to be, as people of faith, people who use our words, who choose our words well and wisely, that our words might give life, that our words might affirm and encourage, that they might build up, that others might be a blessing through us. This is our prayer together in the name of Christ. Amen.